In this video, I'm going to reveal the secret to creating good habits and breaking bad ones. Habits are the small things we do every day without thinking, like turning on the light switch in a dark room. But these tiny actions can have a huge impact on our lives. Whether it's saving money or quitting smoking, understanding how habits are formed is key to taking control of our lives and making positive changes. So, join me as we dive into the world of habit formation and learn how to make lasting, positive changes. Let's get started. This is a summary of the Atomic Habits audiobook, the easy framework for improving your life every day. James Clear, an expert on habit formation, shares strategies to help you build good habits and break the bad ones. You'll discover how small daily habits can have a huge impact on your life and future. If you're having trouble changing your habits, it's not you, it's your system. Our brains are wired to do things that are easy and give immediate pleasure. But don't worry, James Clear has a proven system that will help you change your habits and reach new heights in your life. Through this book, you'll learn how to make time for new habits, overcome lack of motivation, design your environment for success, and how tracking your habits and having an accountability partner can help you succeed. Get ready to change your habits and improve your life. Chapter 1: Why Small Habits Can Make a Big Difference. Many people focus on the wrong thing when it comes to achieving success. They focus on the end goal instead of the journey it takes to get there and think big decisions will get them there. But that's not the case. In fact, just a 1% improvement every day means you'll be 37 times better than you were before. But if you decline 1% a day, you'll decline almost to zero. It's the small habits that make the biggest difference. Just like a plane traveling from Los Angeles to New York needs a specific direction to reach its destination, small changes in our habits can make a big impact in our lives. For example, if a pilot adjusts the course just 3.5 degrees south, it may not seem like much, but it would change the final destination from New York to Washington, D.C. The impact of small changes may not be seen immediately, but over time, the results can be enormous. Eating a slice of pizza won't make you unhealthy, but eating it every night for dinner will likely change your weight over a year. It's the small habits repeated over time that compound into major results. Results in life are a measure of habits. A person's net worth is a measure of their financial habits, and their health is a measure of their daily habits of diet and exercise. Time magnifies the margin between success and failure, which is why our daily choices have a greater impact than we realize. If you want to predict where you'll end up in life, just follow the curve of your daily choices. Bad habits can affect us just as easily as good habits can build us up. This is why it's important to understand how to design our daily habits to our advantage. The key is to make small changes to our behavior, which when repeated over and over, will become habits that lead to big results. Chapter 2: How Habits Are Formed. Many of us have experienced starting a good habit, such as exercise or meditation, only to find that after a few days or weeks it becomes a real hassle. Habits are challenging to change because many people try to change them the wrong way or try to change the wrong things. To change our habits, we must first understand how they are formed. The process of habit building can be classified into 4 steps: cue, craving, response, and reward. Think about what you do when you first get into your car. You probably put the key in the ignition, put on your seatbelt, check your mirrors, and then head on your way. You don't even think about the process, you just do it. It's a habit that you've repeated so many times that it's become instinct and happens automatically. So how are habits formed? Habits begin with a cue or a trigger to act. For instance, getting into your car cues you to perform an action that will get you from one destination to the next. The second step is craving for a change in state. In this case, you want to go somewhere. Your response is to put the car in drive and go. The final step is the reward, a feeling of relief or comfort that comes from arriving at your destination safely. This habit loop can be applied to many habits that you complete daily. For instance, brushing your teeth in the morning. Your cue might be eating breakfast or drinking coffee, triggering a craving to feel fresh and clean. Your response is to head to the bathroom sink and prepare your toothbrush. Your reward is a mouth that feels fresh and makes you ready to take on your day. The cue always triggers a craving, which motivates a response. Then a reward is provided, satisfying the craving and becoming affiliated with the cue. Our behaviors are driven by a desire to solve a particular problem, which is part of the cue and craving phase of the habit loop. For instance, the problem phase might include the cue of your phone buzzing with a new text message. The craving is that you want to learn the contents of that message. Then comes the solution phase. You respond by grabbing and unlocking your phone. The reward is satisfying the craving to read the message. Of course, these habits aren't all that bad. However, when we adopt unhealthy or bad habits, we see the effects years later and the habits become harder to break. That's why it's important to understand the habit loop, so you can learn how to replace your cues, cravings, responses, and rewards to create better habits. By understanding the habit loop, you can change the cues, cravings, and rewards associated with the habit and replace them with more positive cues, cravings, and rewards. It's also important to note that it's not only the cues, cravings, response, and rewards, but also the environment and the people you surround yourself with that plays a major role in forming and sticking to habits. If you can make small changes to your environment, it will make it easier to stick to new habits. Let's see how you can begin creating better habits. Chapter 3. Make it obvious. When it comes to cues, such as the buzzing of our phone or the drinking of coffee, we are prompted to check our messages or brush our teeth. But once you understand how our actions can be influenced by certain stimuli, you can learn how to manipulate your cues to implement better habits. For instance, Anne Thorndike, a primary care physician at the Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, believed she could improve the eating habits of thousands of hospital staff and visitors simply by manipulating their environment. She decided to replace soda with bottled water in the refrigerators next to the cash register. But she didn't stop there. She added bottled water to every drinking station across the cafeteria. Over 3 months, the number of bottled water sold increased by 25.8%, while soda sales dropped by 11.4%. By making simple adjustments, people made healthier choices because the cue to drink water was more prevalent than soda. You see, the most powerful sensory ability in humans is our vision. The human body contains almost 11 million sensory receptors and almost 10 million are dedicated to sight alone. In other words, visual cues are among the highest motivation for behaviors. Therefore, a small change in what we see can lead to a big change in what we do. Luckily, we can design our environment to our advantage. But how? For example, let's say you want to create a habit of practicing guitar. You'll be far less likely to practice if you keep your guitar locked away in a box in your closet. Instead, you should place your guitar somewhere easily seen, like the middle of a room. If you want to eat healthier, place snacks on the counter in plain sight instead of hiding somewhere in the pantry. Want to work out more? Simply put your workout clothes and sneakers out the night before so when you wake up, you can see them. Creating visual cues can bring attention to your desired habit. Additionally, you can create desired cues by practicing implementation intentions. This simply means that you make a plan beforehand of when, where, and how you are going to accomplish something. When you create a plan, you are more likely to stick with your habits. For instance, a study of voters in the United States found that citizens who were asked, "At what time will you vote?" and "How will you get to the voting station?" were far more likely to turn up and vote versus those who were simply asked if they would vote. So instead of telling yourself that you are going to exercise more often, set a plan and say, "On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I'm going to go to spin class after work." And then pack a bag with you to bring for work and leave it in the front seat of your car so it stays in plain sight. This way, when you see the bag and clothes in your car, it serves as a visual cue to remind you of your plan and increases the likelihood of you following through with your habit. It's also important to note that in order to make these visual cues more effective, it's best to place them in areas where you spend a lot of time, such as in your living room or at your office. This way, you will be constantly reminded of your desired habit throughout the day. Additionally, you can use technology to your advantage by setting reminders on your phone or using apps that track your progress. These tools can serve as cues to remind you to take action and can also help you track your progress, which can be a great motivator. In conclusion, understanding how cues influence our behavior and how to manipulate them can help us create better habits. By making small changes to our environment, creating visual cues, and using implementation intentions, we can increase the likelihood of sticking to our desired habits. Chapter 4: Make it attractive. Every day we are bombarded with advertisements aimed at making clothing, food, home goods, and anything more attractive. Society is filled with highly doctored versions of reality as we engineer our photographs with ideal lighting, photoshopped edits, and exaggerated features to make products more appealing and attractive to consumers. The same can be applied to our habits. The more attractive something is, the more likely we are going to adopt it as a habit. You see, when we do something pleasurable like eat food or have sex, our brains release a hormone called dopamine, which makes us feel good. But we don't have to actually do those activities. Our brains release dopamine when we anticipate those pleasurable activities as well. This is simply our brain encouraging us to partake in a certain activity and rewarding us by feeling good. Remember feeling the excitement of Christmas morning as a child? That's because children anticipate the receiving of gifts and the visiting of Santa. Their brains release dopamine that associates Christmas with feeling good. Of course, some activities that make us feel good aren't necessarily good for us. For instance, people easily become addicted to sex, drugs, and food, all of which make them feel good in the moments leading up to and during the activity. However, these addictions can affect our health and our relationships. That's why it's important to use our knowledge to our advantage when it comes to forming good, healthy habits. If we make a habit of something that we look forward to, then we'll become more likely to follow through. One way to do this is through temptation bundling. Temptation bundling aims to make habits more attractive. It works when you link an action you want to do with an action you need to do. For example, Ronan Byrne, an engineering student in Ireland, decided that he needed to exercise more, but he didn't want to exercise more. A problem many of us can relate to. Something else we can probably relate to is the fact that Ronan enjoyed watching Netflix. His solution? He hacked an exercise bike and connected it to his laptop. However, he didn't want to simply watch Netflix while riding. Instead, he wrote a code that only allowed Netflix to play if he was cycling at a certain speed. In the end, he transformed an activity that he hated and linked it with one that he enjoyed. While Ronan had the knowledge to hack an exercise bike and write code to help him bundle temptations, you don't need to be an engineer to apply this tip to your own habits. You can simply link an activity you enjoy with an activity you need to do. For example, you can listen to your favorite podcast while going for a run, or read a book while doing your daily yoga routine. This way, you are more likely to stick to your habits because you are making them more attractive by linking them with something you enjoy. Another way to make habits more attractive is by setting rewards for yourself. For example, you can treat yourself to a favorite meal or a new book after hitting a specific fitness goal. By setting rewards, you are making your habits more attractive by linking them with something you enjoy. Additionally, you can make your habits more attractive by focusing on the benefits they bring. For example, instead of thinking about the effort it takes to exercise, think about how much better you will feel after exercising. By focusing on the benefits, you are making your habits more attractive by linking them with something positive. In conclusion, making habits more attractive can increase the likelihood of sticking to them. By manipulating your environment, linking activities you enjoy with activities you need to do, setting rewards, and focusing on the benefits, you can make your habits more attractive and increase the likelihood of sticking to them. Chapter 5: Make it easy. When it comes to forming new habits, many people tend to focus on finding the perfect approach and end up never taking action. However, the key to mastering any habit is to stop worrying about how long it will take to form a new habit and instead, make it easy and simply do it. Jerry Uselman, a professor at the University of Florida, assigned his film photography students a project to be submitted at the end of the semester. He divided the students into two groups. One group was graded on the quantity of photos they submitted, while the other group was graded on the quality of just one photo. The group that was graded on the quantity of photos earned better grades at the end of the semester. This is because the quantity group was able to hone their skills by creating hundreds of photos, whereas the quality group spent their time making just one photo perfect. This concept can be applied to our habits as well. Often, people are too focused on figuring out the best approach and never take action. Therefore, the key to mastering any habit is to stop worrying over how long it'll take to form a new habit. Instead, make it easy and simply do it. One way to make habit forming easy is through the 2-minute rule. The basis of the rule is to start small and make the habit easy to start. For example, instead of telling yourself that you need to study for a class, you can start with the basics and tell yourself to open my notes. Or maybe you want to make a habit of doing some yoga after work. Instead, it's important to note that forming habits is not a one-size-fits-all process. It's different for everyone. What works for one person might not work for another. It's important to experiment and find what works best for you. For example, some people prefer to make small changes over time, while others prefer to make big changes all at once. It's important to find what works best for you and stick with it. Additionally, it's important to remember that forming a habit takes time and patience. It's not something that happens overnight. It takes time and repetition to form a habit. It's important to be patient with yourself and celebrate small wins along the way. Remember, forming good habits is a journey and not a destination. Chapter 6. Make it satisfying. When it comes to forming long-term habits, making the experience satisfying is crucial. Companies understand this concept and use it to their advantage by adding pleasurable elements to their products, such as the minty taste in toothpaste. Similarly, in the field of public health, researchers have found success by introducing pleasurable elements to hygiene habits. In the 1990s, Stephen Luby, a public health researcher, worked in a neighborhood in Karachi, Pakistan. He noticed that despite the locals understanding the importance of hand washing, they failed to make it a habit. Luby recognized the need for a good soap to make the act of hand washing a satisfying experience, so he partnered with Procter & Gamble to introduce a premium soap to the neighborhood. This seemingly small change led to an overnight shift in hand washing habits, as people now enjoyed the pleasurable experience and made it a regular habit. However, not all habits come with immediate satisfaction. Habits that result in long-term rewards, such as exercising or saving money, may not see the benefits for weeks or even months. To combat this, it is important to attach immediate gratification to these habits. For example, the author's friends wanted to kick the habit of going out to eat to save money, so they opened a savings account named Trip to Europe, and every time they avoided a meal out, they transferred $50 to the account. Seeing the money go into their savings created a sense of immediate gratification and encouraged them to keep up the habit. Eventually, they were able to save enough money to book their trip, a long-term reward for their habit of avoiding eating out. Ultimately, making a habit satisfying is crucial for forming long-term habits. Whether it's through pleasurable elements, like a minty taste or a good soap, or by attaching immediate gratification, such as a savings account, satisfying the experience is key to making a habit stick. Chapter 7. The importance of habit tracking. Kicking a bad habit or implementing a good one can be hard. Sometimes, the satisfaction of progress is delayed, causing us to give up on those healthy habits. Additionally, it can be difficult to see visual evidence of progress when trying to break habits like smoking. Luckily, there is a solution to this problem: habit tracking. Habit tracking is a simple but effective technique to ensure that you stay on track with your habits. This technique has been around for a long time. In fact, Benjamin Franklin successfully tracked his habits using a booklet that he carried with him everywhere. In his booklet, Franklin recorded each time he adhered to his 13 personal virtues, which included activities to avoid like frivolous conversations, as well as things he should do each day like always doing something useful. Each night, Franklin would record his successes, creating a visual diary of his healthy habits. The most basic technique for habit tracking is using a calendar to cross off days when you complete your desired daily habits. When you track your habits through a calendar or a diary, you will find that you are more likely to adhere to those habits. tracking not only provides a visual measure of your progress, but it also creates a satisfying habit. At the end of the day, when you have accomplished your goals, you will feel a sense of anticipation in the action of crossing off each day. Research has also shown that most people who track their progress on goals like weight loss, lowering blood pressure, and quitting smoking are more likely to improve than those who do not. Another effective technique for habit tracking is having an accountability partner or implementing a habit contract. Just as people are more likely to repeat an experience that is satisfying, they are also likely to avoid an experience that is painful or costly. In other words, behavior changes when there is an immediate consequence. For example, university students are more likely to show up to class if attendance affects their grades. They understand the consequences of not showing up and do not want to face them. Similarly, you can apply the same logic to help you form positive habits. Brian Harris, an entrepreneur in Nashville, created a habit contract to keep him on task for working out. He had both his wife and personal trainer sign a contract which committed him to getting his weight down to 200 pounds. To reach this goal, Brian tracked his food intake and committed to weighing himself each week. He also set up penalties for not doing these things, such as paying his trainer $100 if he failed to track his food intake, or paying his wife $500 if he failed to weigh himself. Brian's habit contract worked, not only because he was worried about losing the money, but also because he cared about what his trainer and his wife thought about him. He didn't want to let them down. In fact, knowing that someone is watching you can be enough motivation for success. This is why getting an accountability partner or signing a habit contract works well in implementing healthy habits. In conclusion, it's important to remember that it's the small daily habits that shape our lives and ultimately determine our future. While it may be challenging to form new habits, it's not impossible. By understanding the 4 laws of habit forming, making it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying, you can increase your chances of sticking to a new habit. Furthermore, having an accountability partner and a habit contract can provide added motivation and support to help you successfully implement new, healthy habits or kick a bad one. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you have any suggestions for future content or specific book or resume-related topics you'd like me to cover, please let me know in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and turn on notifications to never miss a new video. Thanks again for joining me here on Bookish, and I'll see you in the next one.